The election. It was late when we finally got home, way past dinner time, but none of us were hungry. Mother and Daddy said goodnight and headed off to their bedroom. Aren't you going to punish me? I asked. Daddy crossed his arms. Doesn't seem to do much good. I'm sorry, Mother held up her hand. No, Marley. I'm too tired for this. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Tomorrow's the election. Then Tuesday, said Mother, and they closed their door. I slept badly that night, dreaming of bricks crashing through our front window, dynamite exploding, and Mother and Betty Jean and Liz walking through our house with makeup on their faces and diamond tiaras. I wondered when my dream had turned into Cinderella's ball. But then I realized it was broken glass in their hair, and it wasn't rouge on their cheeks, it was blood. I called Liz first thing the next morning. Who is this? Liz's mother asked. Marley Nesbitt, I admitted. Marley, she said softly. All I ever wanted was for Elizabeth to have the best education possible, but associating with you nearly got my daughter killed. She won't be talking to you again. But Miss Fullerton hung up the phone. It was hard to concentrate in school. JT wasn't there, and despite myself, I was kind of worried about him. Mr. Harding seemed distracted too. He was teaching the class percentages, but he kept getting the problems wrong. 3/4 was 75%, not 34%. I corrected him the first time, but he looked so embarrassed I didn't dare correct him again. Besides, no one in the class was paying attention. I kept waiting for someone to mention what had happened at Betty Jean's, but no one did. Sally had a new haircut and a dress and talked nonstop about how she was going to get her picture in the paper at the Cross Victory Party. Because, of course, she was sure her side would win. When I arrived home, there was a postcard from Judy in the mail. Good luck, win the election, and bring me home. Love, Judy. P.S. I need new laces for my saddle shoes. Black, please, extra long. Shoelaces? Such a normal concern. You voted? Betty Jean asked as I walked into the kitchen. Betty Jean, I said, I'm only 13. I'm asking everyone, she said without looking at me. She sniffed in the air, then turned to the oven. As soon as she opened it, a puff of smoke drifted out. Oh, Lord, she sighed. This is the second batch I've burned this afternoon. Betty Jean, I asked. What? I wasn't sure what to say at first. Betty Jean had kept my secret about going to the gym, and I'd repaid her by almost getting her killed. Are we going to talk about what happened yesterday? No. Betty Jean was scraping what appeared to be burnt cookies into the garbage. I'm sorry, I said. I know you told me to stay away from Liz, but... Marley, interrupted Betty Jean. What? I need this job. We're still paying back the money from when Curtis was arrested, and now we need a new living room, too. You know the best way to lose your job? I didn't answer. Yelling at the daughter of your employer. I don't want to do that, so I'd appreciate it if you'd kindly be quiet and leave me alone. But that wouldn't help anyone. Not me, not Liz, and certainly not Betty Jean. I tried to imagine what Liz would do. You know, I said finally, I think my parents would appreciate it if you'd yell at me. They haven't gotten around to it themselves, and I know I deserve it, so I'd save them the trouble. Betty Jean snorted and kept her eyes on her cookies, but I could tell she was trying hard not to smile. You're a strange girl, Marley. I'm so sorry, Betty Jean. I know, she said. I know. Mother and Daddy and I listened to the results come in on KLRA radio station throughout dinner and afterwards. I did my homework. Daddy graded papers. Mother did the dishes, and none of us said a word. The stop candidates were ahead all evening. But when KLRA went off, The air at 12:30 a.m., it was still too close to call. I was sure I wouldn't be able to sleep, but I put my head on my pillow just to rest, and the next thing I knew, I heard the front door open as Daddy went out to get the paper. I washed my face and got dressed, anxious to know what had happened, at the same time dreading it. As soon as I walked into the kitchen, Daddy held up the paper. Stop wins, recall victory. Purgers thrown off board. Mother grinned at me. Daddy said, "We did it!" I burst into tears. "Marley, we won," said Mother. But I couldn't stop crying. I thought winning the election would solve everything. But now that the big day was here, I realized it wasn't the end after all. It wasn't even close. New board members needed to be appointed by the Pulaski County Board of Education. There were legal charges to integration in the courts. Even if the high schools did open, Liz and I still wouldn't be at the same school. "What is it?" asked Daddy. "Tears of joy," I lied, and my parents seemed to believe me. I called Liz again before I went to school, but this time no one answered. All morning I couldn't wait for lunch to come so Mr. Harding and I could do some math and forget about everything except algebra. But when I pulled out my book and tried to do the first problem, I couldn't copy it down correctly because my eyes kept filling with tears. "What's wrong, Marley?" Mr. Harding asked gently. "Have you ever looked forward to something for a long time, and then when you finally got what you wanted, it wasn't what you expected?" Mr. Harding nodded. "I'm happy we won," I said. "So how come I don't feel better?" He looked thoughtful and said nothing for a long moment, and then pulled out a pencil and started to write on the blank piece of paper I had before me. "I think what's happened, Marley, is that you've realized the world isn't an addition problem." He wrote 3 plus 4 equals 7 down on the paper. We tell kids that sometimes we pretend the world is straightforward, simple, easy. You do this, you get that. You're a good person, and try your best, and nothing bad will happen. But the truth is, the world is much like an algebraic equation with variables and changes, complicated and messy. Sometimes there's more than one answer, and sometimes there is none. Sometimes we don't even know how to solve the problem. He wrote x to the x square root 2 plus 4x equals 21 equals 0. But usually, if we take things step by step, we can figure things out. You just have to remember to factor the equation. Break it down into smaller parts. I started at x times 2 plus 4x take away 21 equals 0. Pictured it, fractured it into x minus 3, x plus 7 equals 0. Imagine the solutions, x equals 3 and x equals negative 7, and felt a little better. You're right, Marley. Winning this election isn't the solution, but it's a start. Mr. Harding, I said. Yes. At the beginning of the year, I was helping JT cheat on his homework. I know. I looked at him surprised. I grade your homework every day. I recognize your handwriting. Why didn't you say something? I asked. Mr. Harding shrugged. I thought it would be better if you told me yourself. I nodded. Are you going to punish me? Yes, he said. I'm going to make you do extra math during your lunchtime. I smiled. Now come on. He pushed the algebra book toward me. Let's start solving the world's problems, one step at a time. I was in the kitchen doing my homework when Liz called me that afternoon. I can only talk for a second, she said. She sounded awful. Why, what's wrong? I'm not going to be allowed to see you anymore, ever, not even by accident. If we happen to end up in the same place, I have to turn around and leave. And if I don't, Liz can finish. Are you crying? I asked. No, said Liz. But she was. Marley, we were almost killed, said Liz. And not just us, but Curtis and Betty Jean and the pastor and your mother, too. There's nowhere left for us. What are you talking about? We need to find other friends, people we can actually do things with. What? Marley, I don't want you to be lonely. I want you to have friends you can talk and laugh with, and there's no one I like at school. I wailed. Then you're not looking hard enough, said Liz. I'm not always a cup of warm milk with a dash of cinnamon. And little Jimmy is more than just apple juice. But I'm sorry, Marley. This is just how it has to be. As long as there are people like Red in town, we just can't. I'm sorry. Are you telling me goodbye? I asked. Yes, said Liz. I am. Goodbye, Marley. And she hung up. I sat there for a full minute, staring at the receiver. This was actually what I'd been afraid of. I went to my room and sat on my bed and thought. Looked at the problem from all angles, added things up from all sides. I could come to only one conclusion. Liz was right. Summing people up as a cola or a coffee wasn't really fair. Most people were a whole refrigerator full of different drinks. Trying to force them into one cup or one glass meant never really got to know them. I never really got to know them. But Liz was wrong too. As long as there were people like Red in town, it was more important than ever for us to be friends. To show all the others who were too afraid that it was possible. I needed her to point out when I was wrong and teach me new things. And I was pretty sure that she needed me too. There had to be a way. Mr. Harding said when you were stuck, you should factor the equation. Liz was too afraid to be friends with me anymore. There had to be a part of that problem I could solve. Some way to give her back the courage she'd given me. Some way, too. Red. He was only one part of the equation, but he was a large part. If I could deal with him, maybe it would help. At least a little. I thought and thought and thought. And by the time my parents came home that evening, I had a plan.